So we talking about weed in the church today?
Weed in the church.
Absolutely.
Church weed.
I feel like this is it. We need Janessa. We need her to come with her scriptures.
She the one who brought it up too.
I know. And Reese had sent it to me for a good discussion for a podcast. Somebody else had sent it to me before then about thoughts and. Nope, I look crazy. Hold on, I'm trying to get my hair right.
Do you think it's the hair or is it the sweater?
My Christmas sweater? Today was ugly Christmas sweater day.
And you won.
I was just thinking like it doesn't look that ugly.
Thank you. That's what everybody else said. Rudy just a hater.
Yeah. I mean, that just looks like a normal Christmas sweater.
Or maybe I'm just the truth teller.
Hater.
I don't see it. Like, it's a normal Christmas sweater.
I think it's pretty cute. I think I'm going to wear it to church on Christmas. Tomorrow is pajama day. I'm feeling a bit self-conscious about wearing pajamas to work, but I think I'm going to do it.
You going to wear like a full set?
I got a onesie.
Okay. I'm back out again.
Out on the onesie. Is it Christmas? Is it Christmas themed?
It's like the little flannel, the little color block, dark red.
Dark red.
Little color block, and it's like red and dark red. I know what I'm talking about. What's it called? Flannel, something like that.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Oh, is that what he said? Oh,
yeah.
Well, I asked, is it Christmas themed? Is what I asked.
Oh, yeah, it's flannel.
Yeah, but then you were like flannel.
Oh no, I didn't say flannel. She said that. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't even know what the hell flannel means. I don't know what that means.
Sure you do. Like a shirt that Paul Bunyan wears is flannel.
I don't know what Paul Bunyan means.
Okay, the Bounty Man.
That is? Talking about like a plaid shirt?
Yeah, yes. It's like plaid, but it's flannel as a material.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, makes sense. All right. Learn something new every day.
There you go. Boom to the shock and lockup.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Worst Ones. I am Kellie Lee, and I am the worst one. We also have Rudy Wilson, who is a preacher's kid, Terry Weezy, who is a preacher's kid, and in her absence, Jay Rihanna, who is also a preacher's kid, who's in the sick and shut-in list. I don't know if she's in it sick anymore, but she's still shut in. We miss you. But yes, welcome to another episode.
Did you two rehearse that? Or
was that improv? She just did it. I didn't know she was gonna do it, but I fuck with it.
Yeah, it's improvisation.
Stepping up to the plate. I like it.
Did I do a good job?
You did a wonderful job. You got to keep going. So you got to ask us how was our week?
How was your week? Terry Wayne, we'll start with you.
I'm bored.
Not when I have just started this phenomenal podcast.
No, you asked me how my week is. I'm bored. That's how my week is.
In your last 4 minutes of life, you should have become unbored. But why bored?
It takes a little more than that. I don't know. It's just work is slow at this time of year, so I always try to find time or trying to find ways to like fill the hours. Because I'm used to running at such a high RPM, doing everything all the time. Mm-hmm. And now I ain't got nothing to do. So I'm just like playing God of War, I guess. That's
I know you talked about being on the autism spectrum. Did you also talk about ADHD or no?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I've had that since I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not at work, Kellie. Relax.
No, just in terms of him talking about not having anything to do and being bored and
I will take all the free healthcare I can get, sir.
No, but just when you said just liking to have a lot of stuff to do,
No, I get depressed if I don't have enough on my plate. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So
That's why I wanted to run that back and make sure.
yeah,
and diagnose him.
Did not die. He's already been diagnosed.
I have been diagnosed.
Yeah,
That's fine.
you were confirmed.
But I can't. The funny thing is, I can't get. I got a prescription for Adderall, but I can't get it.
Why?
Why? Because there's too many people abusing it, so it's like run out of every pharmacy, and so because I just did a teledoc thing, like a Zoom doctor's appointment. And she was like, yeah, you need this. And I was like, okay. So, and I had her send it to the thing. And then the first pharmacy I went to said, we don't accept teledoc prescriptions for this type of medication because it's like a controlled substance, I guess. And then I said, all right, we'll send it to this other pharmacy near me. And they said they're out and they don't know when they'll restock. And then I said, send it to another one. I must have done this 10 times in places in my area. Wow. And then I just gave up, and I'm just like, all right, I could do without it. It's fine.
I did hear that there was a shortage patients and how that may impact some of our students. So,
well, yeah, because there's so many people that abuse it that don't need it, So it's what it is. Eventually I just gave up, and I was like, all right, I heard that stuff ain't good for you anyway. And I mean, they say, from what I've read, they say it's not good for you if you don't need it and you just abuse it. But if you need it, you really need it. So
gotcha. And you don't.
I don't know. I've never taken it before, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, you've been surviving this long without it.
Yeah, I mean, thriving, but like I said, when the RPMs get too low, the depression sinks in, and then I sit here and
that you can do. I can email you some stuff to do if you're looking for something to do. I got more than enough work to go around. I can email you some stuff to do. There's not an issue.
Lord have mercy.
Not an issue. I even may throw you a couple of dollars. I may buy a couple of books, send them to some people for Christmas. Write a couple of reviews.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that's what I need. I think I need good reviews on there.
Good reviews. What kind of reviews do you have on there?
I don't think I have any so far.
Oh, okay. I'll read it some chapters over the break. Write a review.
Sure.
I got you. Merry Christmas.
It starts out all right, man. The first chapter is the church burning down. So
okay.
There you go.
I'm legit gonna read it. A couple of chapters. I'm gonna start it. I get off all right. Last day of work. Rudy, how you doing?
I just want to talk about new birth, so I'm,
I wish we had, I feel like we need somebody else here. I tried to get Risa on.
Fuck it.
I tried to get Risa on.
We talking about this. Y'all done got me excited.
I tried to get Risa, but her schedule didn't align for today.
Right. That's all right.
And so I figured you were too hyped to push it back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I had a lot of people who wanted to talk about it. They just weren't preachers' kids. So they didn't.
Don't know what's going on.
Did you not?
The topic today.
Did you not watch the video?
I'm not aware of the video.
Okay. Sorry. So while I talk about what was going on in my life, I can extend it a little bit. Will you go to?
I got it. I'm gonna show it on here. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have good. So, then we get fresh reaction.
Right. So, me, I'm doing well. Work is over on Friday for the year. I low-key need to pull an all-nighter to get some work done. I wish I had some Adderall to help me.
Oh, okay.
To help me pull an all-nighter to get some work done for tomorrow. But yeah, Friday's my last day. Tomorrow's my last set of meetings. Super excited for the break. Things have been good. I think this week has been a good closure, a good beginning of closure to 2022. I got some prayers answered. So it's been good. I can't complain. I'm in a good mood, other than I need to pull an all-nighter. So yeah.
Are you smoking a blunt?
We're gonna run on and see what the end's going to be. I guess you're not talking to Rudy.
No, I'm talking to my girlfriend.
Uh,
I did not work this hard to get out of the ghetto for you to smoke blunts.
Jesus.
well, on that note,
Speaking of blunts,
on that note, Rudy, take us away. Tell us about our topic today.
All righty. Well, first we're going to start with a video, and then we'll get into the specifics. So
I'm looking for people that smell like weed.
Oh, there it is.
No, really is. New Birth is the largest land-owning Black church in America.
Wow.
And so my position to my deacons is, why aren't we not raising cannabis? I'll be able to bring in Black males. They're able to do it legally. I'm teaching them farming.
Oh my God.
I'm helping them to enhance the ecosystem. This is the kind of conversation. So if the guy, Black boy in Bankhead said, they growing weed at the church, where do I join?
Yes.
I don't need no pamphlet for him.
Yeah, I think you know where I'm going to stand on this.
I don't need no pamphlet for him.
No. I mean, when you think about it, even for a second, anybody who's ever been high on weed knows, you become more docile, more malleable, more, open to new ideas, things like that. I mean, really, and it is all natural. And if you believe God wanted us to, he populated the earth for us, that means it comes from him. So, people always said like, oh, but God gave us weed. Yeah, he gave us sharks and poisonous mushrooms too. But yeah.
Well, let me do this because I don't know if I can actually show this video on YouTube or whatever. So I'm gonna just say, just a preface for our listeners. Pastor Jamal Bryant, who's a pastor of New Birth in Atlanta. It's a video about him. He's on the Jasmine Brand page on Instagram. Him talking about how he wants to use his land at the church to grow marijuana to attract Black men to the church. So,
well, you can show this on YouTube, by the way, just to let you know.
Gotcha.
I know it for sure. Yeah.
No worries, but either way, just so they, anybody who's listening knows. So yeah, man, let's talk about it. New Birth using the earth, baby.
That is so lame. You just said that because it rhymed.
But both of y'all are laughing. That's the reaction.
I'm laughing at how cheesy it is.
Hey, but you laughed.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it's like a dad joke. It's like, yeah,
of course. I wasn't planning on saying it on stage, but
yeah.
Quick little headline. But yeah, I mean, as far Kellie, did you want to say something before I get into it?
Want to start? I can start with some basic information.
Go ahead.
Basic thoughts. So, Terry didn't know we were talking about this today. Clearly, he missed it. But so Terry, you didn't come with a topic. What did you think we were talking about? Anywho,
I had a topipic, but I just figured I just shut my mouth and we'll use it for next week.
You didn't give us one. But anywho, so in my very traditional mind frame, when I heard it, my first thought was absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like that is
square.
That is not for the church to grow weed. One, in Georgia right now, where New Birth is located, weed is illegal. Still, so that's one. Two, is that all Black men? Is that what Black men do? They just smoke weed? Is that
absolutely not?
is that what we?
First of all, I am not going to allow you to just paint a brush over everybody who smokes weed as if it's a bad, evil thing. Second of all, didn't he say they were doing it legally?
He didn't say anything about legally and illegally.
Actually, he did.
Did he?
Yeah. He said they could grow it legally. And I once again, I didn't try to, but he definitely said it. You feel me?
It might be. Well, just
Maybe
because
a future
something's
conversation.
just because something's illegal to sell or possess in a state doesn't mean it's illegal to farm it.
That's true.
So you can farm it there and ship it to other places.
But he made it seem like, but did he not make it seem like, okay, so from a black man that smokes, and not needing a pamphlet for this, or even as a man who smokes, period, and not needing a pamphlet for this, does the sheer fact of growing weed bring you to church? To me, is it the growing weed with the possibility of obtaining weed? Is it the growing weed with the possibility of like, hey, I can come to church high and there's not a stigma attached to it? Is it I can come to church and possibly obtain my own dime bag of weed, or they passing out joints like they passing out or blunt, like they're passing out communion. What is the draw for black men to come and grow weed, other than jobs and money and economical purposes, but for the church?
Right. I think because when he first started out, he said, "I'm looking for people who smell like weed."
Right. That's all I wanted to make sure you.
So right. So he said, "So I'm looking for people who smell like weed," which means like if you smell like weed, you obviously smoke weed. So that means you're cannabis friendly, right?
Okay.
So if there's a church that allows you, not only teaches you, but allows you to learn how to grow weed, like, and you don't normally like mess with church like that could possibly be a draw, especially as a weed smoker. Now, could they possibly get the illusion that maybe they can get weed if they go to the church too? Yeah, but that don't necessarily mean that's what the church is going to do. They could just literally just be doing the farming. But once again, he don't need a pamphlet for him, because a pamphlet, he gonna look at that pamphlet and be like, man, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But if it's like, yo, they grow weed at this church, like that's actually kind of, because most people who smoke weed, especially if you smoke enough, you have an interest in the farming side of it, you know what I'm saying? Probably even the distribution side of it, to some degree. So
anything, if you're into it, you want to learn all about it.
For sure. So I'm saying, so as far as for that part, as far as a draw, like I could see it. Will it work for everybody? No, not necessarily. Does that mean that the church has to allow them to have a smoking section? No, because it's just about, you have an interest in marijuana. So if I can use marijuana in a way that's not necessarily, I'm not giving it to you to consume, but I'm just showing you how to farm it or whatever the case may be. Like I said, especially if it's an economical, type of situation. Like, yeah, I mean, I can see how that's a draw, is what I'm saying. Like, especially if you don't mess with church like that in the first place. Like,
well, just get them in the place. That's it. It doesn't matter what draws them in. I mean, come on. Church attendance and membership has declined pretty sharply over the last 15 to 20 years. So if you want to continue to have a church, you need to get people in there, get them involved. Yeah. You can do that. I've always said that, churches would have a lot more attendance if they had an open bar and a smoking section. But no, because church members and church members and church hierarchies, there's a very pious thing of how you're supposed to act in church. Well, who doesn't have a problem with attendance? Movie theaters. You know why? Because there's a snack bar. And they go there to be entertained. So if you want to get more butts and seats, you got to reach out. You got to find people where they are. You can't just sit up on a pedestal and be like, if you don't come here, you're going to hell. That's not a draw. You got to go to where people are and meet them there, and then bring them with you.
I think not to cut you off, Kelly, but I think what do you call it? Like, it does matter, I guess, how you draw people in, because I guess I wouldn't say you can just use anything, but at the same time, weed
Within reason.
Isn't we? But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's within reason. But I think weed is within reason, which is why he's like looking at it differently, because like we just always had this bad stigma because of like, it's
the timber industry.
It's inebriating, you're smoking, whatever, blah blah blah. But you can take in spirits, and I'm talking about like liquor, you know what I'm saying, and it be it's not as bad or whatever because of just say the stigma behind it. But now, because the stigma is changing, now even pastors are looking at it differently. Whether they say let's grow it at the church, or even whether they just be like, yo, if you smoke weed, but you also direct the choir, like I ain't finna, sit you down. It ain't like that's the difference between just say somebody who's, cheating on their wife and, with other women in the church and causing all this ruckus. Like that person is, that's like causing a disturbance. Like you're not doing that. You feel what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is like, I think because the weed stigma is changing. That's why it's changing even in the minds of pastors, and people who are going to be against it are people who that stigma hasn't changed in their mind. They're still looking at weed the same way it was looked at in the 90s and in the 80s and so on and so forth. But it's been proven that it's not that.
I like that you said spirits and alcohol and stuff like that, but they don't serve alcohol in churches either. However, most churches I know will serve free coffee.
No, but I'm not saying
no, hang on. I mean, coffee's a stimulant. It's a drug. It just goes in the other direction. Instead of being a depressant, it's a stimulant. And they serve coffee in every church I've ever been to. However, if you look at that from the Mormons' point of view, serving coffee in church to them would be a huge sacrilege.
But I wasn't even saying like serving liquor in church. I'm just saying the stigma behind a Christian drinking as opposed to a Christian smoking.
I get it.
The stigmas are different, but I think now, because it's changing, because it's being legalized and people are kind of looking at it differently, yada, 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 it's making even just a pastor. I'm sure he's not the first pastor that's probably thought about that. He's just probably one of the first ones bold enough to actually say it out loud. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, ultimately, like a lot of pastors are just trying to get butts in seats. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying just trying to in the sense of like meeting a quota, but I'm saying like, they got big churches. He got a big church.
You got to keep the lights on, man.
Like
keep the lights on.
They sanctuary can probably hold, 15,000 people or something. What you know what I'm saying? So like, I'm sure like he, and especially if I can reach people who like Terry said, where they are, and they still are coming. Like I can, even if I thought weed smoking was wrong, I have a better chance of affecting change in their life if I can get them in here with accepting the weed smoking as opposed to keeping them out because I don't accept it.
So I think there's a lot of different issues here, a lot of separate things here. So marijuana historically has been a drug, or it's still a drug.
It is a drug.
It is a drug, but an illegal drug. Even as we decriminalize it and legalize it, it's still a drug. Yes, Terry.
No, you continue. I was just the only reason marijuana was ever criminalized beyond prohibition was because of the timber industry. They ran a smear campaign because they didn't want people making paper out of hemp. That's it. That is not my opinion. That is historical fact.
I am not a weed smoker, so I do not know the short-term, long-term, positive and or negative effects of smoking marijuana.
Oh yeah, you've never smoked weed.
Not
regularly.
Not in the sense where I can really say like it felt any way it did anything. Like yeah, I can't say like, oh man, there's one time I was high and I don't know.
Me either.
Okay. So, but I do know. So again, starting with the beginning of Pastor Bryant's, is he Pastor Bishop, whoever he is, Pastor Bryant's. I want the people who smell like weed. So that's something different from growing weed on church property. I want the people to smell like I want the people who smell like weed, or the guys, or whatever he said, to smell like weed. I think that is appropriate. Like, come as you are. As you said, whether we see weed as a drug, as a sin or not a sin or whatever, the fact that Rudy smokes is no different than me having a couple of glasses of wine Saturday night before Sunday. Now, I know my high schoolers is 7:45 in the morning. The school has just started and they already smell like weed. You don't typically, most people don't drink that early in the morning. Smoking is apparently a little different. But I get that, except for the fact that the smell of marijuana is probably not socially appropriate or common in the typical church. Come as you are. Just because you smoke weed does not mean that you don't belong in the church, doesn't mean that you can't come to church, doesn't mean any of that. But please know that in the traditional Black church I can speak for, you come in smelling like weed and the church members gonna judge. Not that you shouldn't be there. Not that they're not gonna judge the choir director that's sleeping with multiple women, because they're gonna talk about him and the multiple women as well. But they also gonna talk about the young man that came in smelling like weed, because in church, that isn't something that is common, and that isn't something that's probably socially appropriate.
But why do they have to? They don't necessarily have to smell like weed just because they're growing it at the church.
So I'm talking about his first statement. So that's totally different.
But I'm saying, sorry to cut, just real quick before you answered. I don't know if he was saying I want the guys to come to church smelling like weed. I just think he's saying like the people who walk around smelling like weed, people who are weed smokers. I want to attract them by doing this particular gesture. Not necessarily saying show up that way, but if you are a weed smoker, I'm going to use this growing and farming to attract you because that's your interest.
So what I heard, and I can listen to it again. So I hear what you're saying there. Mm-hmm. But what I heard is I want to attract them to church for the purpose of entrepreneurship, for the purpose of business, for the purpose of teaching them how to farm, for the purpose of, what did he say, enhancing the economy or the ecosystem or something like that. I didn't hear I want to attract the people who smell like weed to receive the Spirit of the Lord. He didn't say that. He said it for more business purposes, for more economical purposes, for more job and putting money in their pocket purposes. Not that that's a wrong thing or a bad thing or, an incorrect thing to do. I definitely think the church has a place in providing jobs and opportunities for all people. But he didn't say, I want to bring the people who smell like weed to church for the purpose of finding God. And not that because you smoke weed, you don't know God, but assuming that you're looking for the students or the people who don't know God, that isn't why he said, I want to attract them to church. He said it more as a business model, more than a spiritual space, is what I heard. Hey, y'all, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at The Worst Ones PK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at The Worst Ones PK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show. I feel like you are, the ploy is farming, enhancing the ecosystem, entrepreneurship.
But I'm saying, but you don't.
I don't think that man gives a damn about the ecosystem.
I'm saying,
those were his words.
I understand those were his words. It sound very political.
To me, it sounds more of and I guess this is my issue with it. that it sounds more of a business model, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it sounds more of a business model than bringing these men to church for spiritual purposes. Where do I join because this church is growing weed? I can get a job, I can make money, I can do this. More of a business model than let me bring you for spiritual purposes. Again, not saying that what they're doing is a sin or not a sin, right or wrong or whatever. I just didn't hear where are you bringing to men to church to find the Lord.
Well,
Are they gonna find the Lord faster working for the church growing weed or faster working at Walmart?
I don't know.
Where are they gonna find the Lord faster?
I don't know because I'm not.
Yes,
even
you do. They're gonna find
even,
it at the church faster because they're in the environment.
I'm not even sure that you can find the Lord at some churches, depending on who the pastor is.
That's not. I don't believe it.
Well, I think either way, I think his point was, these are all the perks that I'm using for them to come to church and change their lives. You feel what I'm saying? Like and it's not to say that because there's people I'm sure who are
we saying that people who smoke weed have terrible lives and don't know the Lord.
Well, no, it's not that. But I'm saying the point that he's saying is that because he's looking at weed itself differently. So because he's looking at weed itself differently, he's saying, I want like the people who smoke weed and feel like they can't come to church, because there's obviously people like me who smoke weed and feel free to go to church. But for the people who smoke weed and feel like they don't want to come to church, like I'm saying like, yo, this is our way of showing we embrace you. Just like if they have something for singles, just like if they have something for the youth or whatever, like these are all perks that we have at the church. Because nobody is trying to go to a church just for the simple fact of having service on Sunday. Like there's women's ministry, there's men's ministry. So
my age and my relationship status relates to me engaging in cannabis use.
No. I'm saying going to that church. I'm saying when you have a youth ministry, that's a perk for being at that church. Like not only we can go to church on Sunday, but they have stuff for the youth. They have outings for the youth. They do things for the youth. So if I got kids, that's a perk for me going to that church. If I'm single and I'm going to a church, they have a singles ministry. Like, so now I'm not just out here on my own at this church. Like I'm amongst other singles. If I'm in a relationship, now we got couples ministry. Same thing. If you know what I'm saying, men's ministry, women's ministry, they have all of these are perks. So I'm saying it's the same concept when it comes down to the weed. The only difference is weed just has the negative stigma. But it's the same.
It's an illegal drug. Go ahead.
Correct. But I get where the stigma comes from. But what I'm saying is,
you're on mute, Terry.
But I'm saying he's using that same ploy that you use with the other ministries. It's the same thing that he's using to draw people to come to the church. So if you are a weed smoker and you don't come to church, especially if you feel like you don't want to come to church because you smoke weed or whatever the case may be, or churches may judge weed smokers or whatever. He's trying to break down that barrier and say, not only we accept you, but we also are going to show you the better side to it, the other side to it, like not just being a consumer, but we can teach you how to farm it, X, Y, B, Z.
But judgment's always bad in church, and it's always going to be there. And the best churches
are inside and outside.
Well, I understand, but the best churches are the ones that stamp that stuff out right in the beginning.
Right.
Brings to mind Planet Fitness, that gym.
No judgment zone.
Yeah, they exactly. They got specific rules that you're not allowed to break because it makes everybody else around you feel bad.
Right.
And you're just showing off. And that's no difference with church congregations to where they, oh, well, this person doesn't want to come to church because she's a single mother and had a baby out of wedlock and doesn't want the judgment that she knows she's going to get when she comes there. Same thing for a 20-year-old kid who smells like weed because maybe, I don't know, whatever his reasons are, maybe he just likes weed, or maybe he's got anxiety and it helps him, or, maybe that was just, what he grew up with. Doesn't matter. The point is that when you start putting yourself above others and looking down on them, you're going to find yourself with a lot of empty seats. And again, you ain't going to help anybody if the lights are off.
I don't know if I
But it's just like Rudy said, churches use all kinds of tactics to bring in new members, new visitors, people to come in and see if maybe it's a good fit for them. I've seen everything from raffles to pancake breakfast to small carnivals to youth days to this to that.
Friends and family day, all that.
For all of it. All of it is meant for one thing, to increase the membership so you can keep the lights on and keep doing good. And you can't do that. You can't do any good when the lights are off.
Well, here's the thing: growing weed. Why are you laughing?
You said so disappointing.
Well, again, because she has very much been indoctrinated into this American idealism that that weed is a Schedule 1 drug, which it still is to this day federally. It's still listed right alongside heroin and cocaine, which is insane. It's insane to think that.
Here's my point: it's growing weed itself under the name of the church would probably bring as much money, if not more money, in than the tithes and offering.
100%. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry now.
So just having that under the church's name as a business model relieves a lot of the pressure of the congregation to pay their tithes and offering because the money that you're getting from this business.
No, I don't agree.
Why not?
Okay, well,
because they get, the churches get money from businesses all the time. Like churches, this church in Jacksonville got a hotel, restaurants, all that, but people don't stop paying their tithes.
I'm not saying they don't stop paying their tithes, but I'm saying that the person. Wait, I'm saying that. I'm saying that you talk about keeping the lights on and needing butts in the seats to be able to keep the lights on. If I got a multi-billion-dollar business of growing weed, then whether I got 10 people or 10,000 people in the seats, I can probably fund the church.
Yeah, but if your church is selling weed, you're going to have a lot more than 10 people there.
Exactly. But if your church is, oh my God, if your church is, we went from growing weed to selling weed. I'm not
going to say all that. If you're growing it and making billions of dollars, you're selling it.
We're selling it for recreational purposes. So now the church is selling weed for recreation.
I think what Terry.
Why? What's wrong with that?
But I think what Terry is saying, like, is if you are growing it and you're making billions of dollars, you're definitely at least selling it to a distributor or whoever.
Yeah, a wholesale.
You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Dispensaries and things like that.
Right.
Why'd she go away already? Because my thing is, the only reason Kellie cares this much about the church making money off of weed is because it's weed. If they figured out a way to make $1 billion selling pancakes, nobody would have a problem with it.
Right.
Even though pancakes are terrible for you and they make you fat and give you cholesterol and everything else. I'm just saying, like, the church growing weed, first of all, you don't have to grow weed. If you just left it alone, weed would grow on its own. The only reason weed doesn't grow naturally in America is because whenever they find it, they kill it and they stomp it out. And again, the whole criminalization of weed, the whole reason it's illegal is because of greed. In the early 20th century, when Prohibition came along, they made alcohol illegal and they made marijuana illegal. It used to be legal before Prohibition. Weed was legal in America, but because they wanted that paper, because they, in the most literal sense, because the timber industry wanted a monopoly on the production of paper, they smeared weed so that way when Prohibition was ended, weed stayed illegal and is till this day.
So I want to back up a little bit. I was at the microwave I could hear you, but I was at the microwave when you made the last point. So I go to the church's bookstore, and I pick up a shirt with a church saying Jesus loves us and a daily devotional and a dime bag. Is that what we're coming to?
That's fine. That's fine with me. I don't see any problem with it. It'd be better than them selling coffee. It'd be better than them selling coffee and cigarettes. And like, you were gone, but I said, okay, well, what's the problem with pancakes? Why not make $1 billion selling pancakes? Is that wrong? Are you sure? Because it gives people, obesity and high cholesterol, diabetes.
Or the fried chicken that black people eat after church on Sundays.
Okay, everybody eats fried chicken, but go ahead.
but
But
go ahead.
I was going to say the whole weed situation, like as far as selling it, I don't know if you necessarily have to sell it at the church or not. But to Terry's point, if you're selling it even to a distributor or dispensaries, whoever, like you are going to make the billions of dollars. But I don't think that would then make people just say back off on their tithes, because especially if the pastor is teaching the principle of tithing, like you're not. At this point, yeah, we're not necessarily asking you to tithe because we're suffering, but like God, like that's God's principle when it comes down to the whole tithe and offering, and especially if they're using the billions of dollars from the marijuana to just say not only help people as far as like individually with their own just say finances, but they can build more stuff, onto their campus. They can add more things. They can do more things with the whatever. Like if it's funding those type of things and it's making it better, I don't understand what the problem.
I would rather the church make those billions of dollars than ex-politician like John Boehner, who was famously against weed until he found out how much money was there, and then all of a sudden he was a main stockholder in one of the new weed companies.
Kellie, if the church
I'd rather the church get that money than some politician or some captain of industry or some greedy Wall Street guy. I would rather the church get that billions of dollars, because that's going to do a lot better. They're going to do a lot better with that money than those people will.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
But you're only the only gripe you have about it is because it's weed, and that stems from a bias that you have against it, and it's not your fault. It's been ingrained in you your entire life that it's this bad illicit drug, and that it's this and that. No, it's a natural thing that comes from the earth, and there's only one reason why it's illegal, and that was greed in the early 20th century.
Kellie, if the church sold bottles of wine in the bookstore as opposed to weed, would that be better? Would that be okay?
No.
The Jews do it.
But I'm saying, but they drink wine in the Bible and all that. People got ways to justify it. Like it's a whole.
Yeah, Jesus drank wine all the time.
I'm not saying like you can buy it and then take it into the sanctuary and sip during service. I'm saying like after church they open up the bookstore. And and if you want to, buy a bottle of wine, take it home, like you can.
For what?
Yeah. Most Catholic churches
to drink it. What you mean for what purpose?
Most Catholic churches still
edify the Lord.
How does selling a T-shirt glorify and edify the Lord?
Because it's because it say John 3:16 on it.
No, it don't. It'll say like the church name or something. It's the church brand. Because to Terry's point, they getting butts in the seat. That ain't got nothing necessarily to do with the Lord directly. It's just like the wine. The wine it ain't gonna be like they're gonna be just serving somebody else wine. I'm sure it'll be somebody, some in-house or whatever. It'll have a church logo on it. It's gonna be all about branding. That's what it is.
Walmart doesn't advertise for the glorification of Walmart. They do it to get you in the place. And that's the same thing the churches do. Churches do the same thing. They advertise, they do special events, they do, like Rudy said, benefits or whatnot. They do that just to get you in the building. Once you're in the building, now we can start. But you can't start till you get them there. And yeah, if a dime bag gets you there, I'm all for it.
You all for it too, Rudy?
The state, many states.
Y'all lucky I don't live in Atlanta right now. I'd be at Newburgh Sunday.
It's still illegal.
Many states Sunday. Which and that also shouldn't be allowed, because if you say that smoking weed is inherently a part of our religion, we believe that God through Jesus, put weed on this planet for us to help us commune with Him.
Where does the Bible say that?
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it does. I'm saying if you put that as one of the doctrines of your church, they shouldn't be allowed to stop you because now you're infringing on their religious rights. The same way that ayahuasca is illegal in the United States unless you're a Native American, because they actually have said since the very beginning, we use this in our ceremonies for our religious beliefs, and the federal government can't do anything about it. Nothing. But then again, there was never any giant political smear campaign against ayahuasca.
So
it's a direct hypocrisy between the two.
I think okay. So, and I'm sure I'm you guys are going to answer it in a certain way. So I don't smoke, but the church offers a bottomless mimosa brunch after service.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing. I don't see a thing wrong with it.
You never get your phone bill?
Yeah. I don't see a thing wrong with that.
I'm trying to just ask the question straight through the ringing. That's what's the problem, not the wine.
No. The Bible and the church never said there was anything wrong with alcohol. It's the people in the church that made that decision.
But the Bible
They're
says
the ones that
say, does it not?
It said what?
Drunkenness.
There are parts to it, yeah, where it says,
But that's
falling
in
in
that ain't just
same thing with weed. So is there a line? So there's a line, and again, I don't smoke.
Yeah,
so
it's called personal responsibility. Just because they got bottomless mimosas doesn't mean you're bad. Doesn't mean you're bad for going to it. But if you have 25, then maybe that's a bad choice.
If you really go bottomless, like you really
like if you have.
So you want me to say bottomless and do 3? I didn't pay
we can go right. We can go
after church.
Is it wrong for them to have a pancake breakfast
with bottomless mimosas? No.
I'm saying, is it wrong for them just to have a pancake breakfast after service? But what if a guy's 400 pounds and comes in there and eats 50 pancakes? Is it wrong now?
If a guy is addicted to drugs and he comes in and buy a dime bag from the church store?
Addicted. First of all, marijuana is not addictive, nor is it habit forming. It isn't. It's it's scientifically proven. It's not.
So what? And I made the difference because my little kids, they got to be addicted to something. Because honey, they out of control.
Okay.
They out of control. But
caffeine's more addictive than marijuana is.
But I lost
Do you
my
need
train
to get
of thought.
that?
But okay, so the bottomless mimosas, alcohol addiction is real.
That's true. It is.
Is it not?
It is 100%.
And so, is there a difference between selling a dime bag? Is that what y'all call them? Dime bags?
Well, nobody really sells dimes anymore. But yeah,
no, we'll go with that.
What is it called when you call the weed man and you say I want a
eighth or a quarter?
Eighth,
something.
Yeah, eighth, quarter.
An eighth is a dime. What's a quarter? What's the
eighth is 3.5.
It's eighth of an ounce, quarter of an ounce, half an ounce, or ounce. That's
how many blunts can you get from an ounce?
A lot.
Well, yeah, an ounce is 28 grams.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what
it's just a lot. It's a lot.
So that'll last you how long? Just for the non-weed smokers in the world.
An ounce for somebody like me would probably last 4 or 5 months.
Okay, what about you, Rudy?
Probably 4 or 5 weeks for Rudy. Maybe.
4 or 5. I'll say about 4. I don't know. I'll probably say about 2 weeks.
Okay. 4 or 5 days, maybe.
For the average weed smoker.
It just depends on how much you smoke.
How much you smoke, but an ounce is a lot.
Rudy's on his second blunt of this podcast, so he's on a different level than I am. Third blunt. But
so would you call New Birth instead of your weed man to re-up?
I would much rather give my money to the church than to some dispensary. Yeah, 100%.
Talking about your little local weed man. That's your homeboy.
So?
Well, no. For me, it's a company called Green Dragon Dispensary.
Right, because you got a medical marijuana card. So yours
That's
is
true.
For medicinal purposes.
That's
where
true.
Rudy's is more recreational.
Rudy's is... I just never got it diagnosed.
It's
what
all
what
medicinal.
ailment do you have that you need to tell us?
Actually, ex-military are one of the
PTSD?
ex-military are one of the number one subscribers to medical marijuana.
Is it PTSD?
Yeah.
I'm asking Rudy.
I'm just a Wilson, and we got some fucked up brains, and I happen to have one as well. So this helps me,
And
I
not to
don't know if
mention,
the doctor
you
gonna
can
put that on the script, but okay.
not to mention, just so everybody listening, for 500 million followers or whatever, you don't have to be ex-military. You don't have to have served in a combat forward area to have PTSD. You can have PTSD. You can have PTSD from a multitude of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a trauma.
Yeah.
But yes, no, I had a ex-boyfriend who had PTSD and was prescribed some real medicine, and instead of using that medicine, he used marijuana. And I actually liked
Good for him.
I actually liked him better when he was high versus when he wasn't high.
I've known plenty of people. Dude, I had a guy working for me in my restaurant back in Memphis, right? And he was always a curmudgeon in the beginning, but he did good work, so I wanted to keep him around. I was like, is there anything I can do to make you more comfortable at work? He's like, I'm always in a better mood when I'm high. And I said, you know what? You work in the kitchen. You're just making pizzas for me. You're not hurting. You're not a driver, anything like that. I was like, if you want to smoke on your breaks, just go in the back. Go in the back of the restaurant, smoke. And you know what? After that, he was everybody's favorite. He was always in a great mood. He was always helpful. He always did his job well. I got no problem with it. None.
So why couldn't he have the same allowances of smoking on his break if he was a driver, or if he was the cashier, or if he was a waiter?
I only use that analogy. The only reason I don't care if he was a waiter or a cashier or whatever. That's all fine. But when you're a driver, that's the only reason I said that, is because when you're a driver, now you're under my liability. So if he goes out and gets in an accident with somebody and he's high, now it comes back. Now there's liability issues, because even where weed is legal, driving while high is still illegal. That's still a DWI.
Yeah, just like driving while drunk.
Like alcohol. So there are negative effects to weed.
I personally, everyone I've ever known that smoked weed actually drives perfectly fine. I've never seen anybody get fucked up on smoking weed and then go out and have an accident or
that's why I prefer smoking over drinking, because I like, if I have to drive, like it doesn't affect my driving, not even the tiniest bit. But liquor definitely affects my driving. You feel what I'm saying? So like it affects my decision making, just say in general. But the point I was going to make to what I was saying earlier, I don't necessarily think that the church has to be, just say, the place of consumption, even if it is with the mimosas. Like I don't know if you have to do a whole brunch and have mimosas, because to Terry's point, even with the driving, I don't know if you want to encourage drinking and driving, not even so much the drinking part or even the smoking part, but the doing it and driving. Like you still want to have, just say, the responsible elements. So that's why I said, like, if you came and you purchased a bottle of wine from the bookstore with your little "What Would Jesus Do" shirt and your little, your little Bible cover and the sermon from today, like, and then you go home and then you drink the wine at home, like while you watch Monday Night Football or whatever the fuck. Like, to me,
how about wine? I'm probably not watching Monday Night Football.
I don't know what women do, so I'm just naming. I'm just thinking about like a man, but I'm saying like to me, I don't necessarily see the issue with that. But now, if you got people getting smacked, you know what I'm saying, they leaving church sauced up, then it ain't even about them just being drunk. It's about them. You're having people drink and then have to get in their cars and then go drive home. You
or being high. I'm saying
whatever it is. Yeah.
I'd rather somebody be. I would prefer to drive with somebody that's high over drunk. 100%. A million times.
I mean, I can see that.
How are we? Let's be specific. How are we?
Yeah. Right. Not high on heroin, just like this at the wheel.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
we're talking about weed.
Right.
But, I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I think whatever shade Terry was trying to throw at me at the beginning, that I'm set in. What did you say? What did you say? Something about stigma was Rudy's word. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, I said you basically brainwashed your whole life.
Yeah, that's shade.
Yeah. That's not shade. You're like most people. Most people are brainwashed.
He looked like, what shade did I throw with it? Like, yeah, you're brainwashed. Like that's shade. But
I don't see it as shade.
Rudy,
go ahead.
Look at
All right. I'm wrong then, I guess.
Little jab.
Yeah, it's a little 1-2, but we good, you know. But I just, when I was having this conversation with a friend earlier, because I knew that I didn't have Janessa on my side today, and you know what? I don't really even know what Janessa would have been, to be honest. But I had mentioned, I said, you know what? I may have been okay if Jamal Bryant did it under his name and not under New Birth's name. And did it under his name, even though he's a pastor, but not under the church's name. Again, still coming from the space of, right, as Terry said, my brainwashed mind of weed is a drug, it's an illegal drug.
Just weed is bad.
Weed is bad and is not associated with church. But understanding culturally where we are in the city of Atlanta, and weed smoking or marijuana use is culturally popular here. I can understand that as a way to bring people in to save souls. Y'all can't see my air quotes if you're listening, but to save souls and provide job opportunities for people. And I said, I prefer him to do it under his name, even though he's a pastor, or as a pastor, versus under the church's name. And the rebuttal my friend gave me was, then Jamal Bryant gets all of the money and all of the resources and all that comes from it, and it takes away from the church. And so I'm like, you know what? I get that. That's a good point. I would prefer for that money not going to one man, and it benefiting, the church instead, versus him being able to decide how much I decide to give to the church out of our own tithes and offering, versus all of the money goes to the church, and we may adjust your salary because we bring in this amount of money.
Right.
But I still think that overall, and I was excited, not excited is not the probably the word, but I was interested in this conversation to see, in my very traditional mind, if I could shift to seeing where this may be okay. I see it culturally. I see it in the name of innovation and thinking outside of the box. I see it as a business model, and like I said, in creating jobs for people. But I think you can create jobs for people through the church in other ways other than this. You can have a whole farm where you're farming vegetables, and where you can, teach economics, enhance the ecosystem, and entrepreneurship.
But would that attract the weed smoker?
No.
Exactly.
But
so what's
provide jobs for?
But that's what I'm saying. But that's the whole point. It's not just about the job. The job is
what's so special about weed smokers?
Well,
the ones that don't go to church, there's a lot of people who smoke weed who don't go to church.
There's a lot of people who could farm fruits and vegetables that don't go to church.
Right, but I'm saying, but they're more likely they're more likely to go to church if they.
Yeah,
if they
nobody judges
farm.
somebody who's a farmer for walking in the door in overalls. But if you walk in smelling like weed, yes, they do.
But I feel like, so when my high schoolers, when my 14 to 18-year-olds show up to school at 7:30 smelling like weed, you're 14 and 18.
I completely agree with them. I hope they're high.
I
really do.
First of all, Jamal Bryant said men. Okay, so let's just be clear. He said men. He didn't say 14-year-olds.
Teenagers' lives are hard enough. Good for them.
Y'all 21 and older folks that's been smoking weed for years, I'm gonna need y'all to figure out how to mask the smell. I'm gonna need y'all.
Okay, yeah, you can definitely.
So smoke and all of that, but you don't have to walk around the world, let alone church, the grocery store, the gas station.
So your
children.
problem is just that they smell like weed, not the fact that they're
No,
high
I'm
in
talking
church.
about that was his first statement in his comment in the viral.
But that's what I'm saying. But okay, but what I'm saying, but you have to think it's the context. When he's saying I want the people who smell like
I want weed smokers.
right? He's saying I
Right.
want weed smokers. It's not. It's so. It's
But
not.
the
It's not.
judgment, I don't know that you're a weed smoker until you smell like weed.
Right.
Otherwise,
And if you're just say so, if you're the pastor, Kelly, and you're feeling like, okay, I have a problem with people walking around smelling like weed. If I can spot the weed smokers by smelling like weed, I bring them into the church with my farm, and now I can now teach them, hey, you can be high without walking around smelling like weed. You can teach that lesson because now they're in the place, as opposed to going to their hood and being like, man, y'all walking around smelling like weed. They're not gonna want to hear that. But if they feel accepted and they feel the love of Christ and all these things, they'll hear you out on the change that you're trying to help them make, as opposed to just coming in there and making them feel judged.
And again, reiterating
that weed smokers must be jobless.
I didn't say anything about jobless.
Weed smokers must be. I mean, but I feel like that's the stereotype that he's pushing.
That's what I'm saying. It's the perks. Like it's not saying that everybody who we draw in with this farm.
You know what you have to have.
Hold on one second, Terry. It's not saying that everybody who we draw in with this farm has to work on the farm. It's just saying that not only will draw people in because we are a church that grows weed, but if people do need a job, they can also learn this and work from it. So it's a perk, but it's not a requirement. It's a perk. It's not a requirement.
Two things. One, if you are a weed smoker, do you know what you have to have? Money. You have to have money to smoke weed because they don't give it away for free. First of all. Second of all, most of the people that I know that smoke weed on a regular basis, or at least smoke, let's say, like Rudy does, right? Not like a pacifist smoker like myself, but like, let's say an active smoker, Rudy, doesn't miss a day. They prefer to work in an industry that they're excited about, something they're interested in. I know people that have quit jobs paying a few dollars more an hour to go work for dispensaries just because that's the environment that they want to be in. And again, just to reiterate the whole legality of it, we kind of have to wipe that portion of the argument out because again, weed is only illegal in this country because of our racist, greedy past, which by the way, did you know it's a racist thing too? It is. The illegality of weed was propagated on the fact that jazz cigarettes is what they called them back then. That's what the Negroes used. That's the way they used it. That's the way they promoted it to be criminalized Schedule I the way that it is. I think it's a huge step forward culturally. If we just decriminalize it federally, it'll pump billions of dollars into the economy. It'll start changing the way people think about it. And it took 100 years to get us to where we are now. It's going to take at least 50 to eradicate that bias that is on display. There's nothing wrong with weed. There's literally nothing wrong with weed. Oh, you're going to overdose? No, smoke a garbage bag full of it. You're fine. It's literally the only drug that I can think of that has no downside to it. None. No downside whatsoever. There's no medical evidence that it causes any health ramifications, especially if you ingest it edibly and not, if you smoke it, you're still smoking something. That ain't great for you. But if you ingest it edibly, there are no negative consequences that they can find long-lasting effects to. You're literally harming no one, and you're losing out on billions and billions of dollars.
Once again, just to be clear, Jamal Bryant didn't say he was going to be selling at the church. He just spoke on the whole farming aspect. So I'm not saying, and once again, I'm not saying those elements aren't true. So I'm not negating them, but I just don't want to put words in his mouth. You feel what I'm saying?
Wish they would. They should sell it at church.
But either way, I'm definitely on for it. Like I said, if I lived in Atlanta right now, I would definitely be, and that became a thing, I would be paying.
Would you go and grow weed, or you would just go to the church because he grew weed?
I know I would
both.
I would do both.
I'd be more likely to go to either, just because it shows me who I'm dealing with. They've got a more progressive mindset. They're more in touch with things.
I'm even just to hear just his doctrinal other stuff now. Like, because if you feel like that about weed and you're a pastor, now I'm curious to see like what's your teachings on everything else. Like, are you just saying what everybody else say?
Bible
Just
the way in which you want to interpret the Bible, or are you really hearing for the Lord?
correct. That's what I'm saying. But you thinking differently about weed will make me intrigued to at least go find out. You feel what I'm saying? And then if you prove yourself to be, not who I thought you was, then I leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't like I got to be tied to that. It's a big ass church. You won't even know if I'm there or not. You feel me? But if I'm gonna be there, like, and I want to be with a place where, like, I fuck with. Even like churches, it's churches get gyms at they church or whatever like that. And not only that will encourage maybe people who don't normally work out to maybe get a membership and join or whatever. But it also attracts people who work out. It like I can just work out, at the church and do this at the church and eat at the church and bowl at the church. Like, it's churches who I know have all this type of shit, all this bowling alleys, hotels, all that.
It's the old carrot and the stick, positive versus negative reinforcement. If I hear this pastor saying, no, we're totally fine. If you're into weed, it's fine. It's totally fine. Now I'm a little more receptive to what you have to say.
But I also
as opposed to somebody who hits you with the stick and gives you the judgment and said, no, because you smoke weed, you've got a problem. You need to get into church, get off that weed. It's like you're going to turn people off. You're just going to turn people off.
I think you would turn people off either way, because I think that you open your church to growing weed, you're going to lose a certain amount of members.
The old.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the old ones that are brainwashed.
Right. And so, at the risk of you're going to lose membership, and so New Birth may be in a position where I want this younger crowd. Because tell me this, as 40 and under, do you guys pay tithes consistently? Do you pay a 10th every month?
No.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a yes. We gotta know, and I just paid a lump sum at the end of the year.
I do my stuff in other ways. I don't give it to a church necessarily.
And so when you think about even the generation that's coming, are they paying tithes like the traditional church member used to? And so there's one part where the church may have to think about more creative, out of the box ways to bring money and fund the church.
So if the church, say, like, had a Cash App account where you could transfer money,
most churches that have a Cash App account,
right. But you think that's okay?
I think that's kind of going with the times, I suppose.
I'm pretty sure JC said something specifically about the money changers not being in the account, not being in the temples.
It ain't. It's online.
Huh?
It's not in the temple. It's online. It's virtual.
I'm like, what's the difference between doing a
But
Cash
if you're
App
sitting in your chair,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But I don't know. I
don't know what the difference is, me doing it on Cash App and you passing the basket and me walking to the front.
Because somebody at Cash App's making money from that.
Oh, because it's a third party making money.
Right. Which is why it was always okay to give your money to the church, but having the money changers in the church was. But I know
churches don't necessarily use Cash App, but I know a lot of them that use Givelify, which is kind of like and that's definitely a third party that's making money, but they use it for tithing purposes, like especially people who watch like online or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you text the number and the amount or whatever the case may be, and then
because otherwise y'all wouldn't have got no money from me.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's a third party. I just think that's just more with the times. I think if you using any of those, just say for your own pockets, it don't matter what you use. You could be getting money through Facebook. You feel me? Like, and I ain't talking about Facebook paying you. I'm saying people sending you money through Facebook. So that's the thing as well. Like, it don't matter how you get it, Venmo, Western Union. If you're doing it for some bullshit, I think it's just the intention. But either way, New Birth, Pastor Bryant, you got my
grow your weed. Get that
vote.
weed. I would much rather you have that money than some hedge fund. because they ain't gonna do nothing for nobody with it.
Yeah, you got my vote, my nigga. So
Church announcements.
Princess Kells 51. I've had a good 2022 and 2023. I'm trying to shake up some things, So we may go public. We may not, but it's a thought. Right now at Princess Kells 51.
You don't have to go public, just start accepting people.
I do about five every 2 months. At J Rihanna _, for my girl J Rihanna, Janessa Rowland. She has fun over there. She's been taking us a little bit on her journey on the sick and shut in list. So check her out. We love you. We miss you.
At Terrorwing Comedy on all social media platforms. Soon to be in Nashville. And don't forget to get your copies of Unclaimed Ashes on Amazon right now. All those holiday gifts, stocking stuffers, all that. Give me your money.
So you are moving to Nashville for sure. That's the thing.
That is 100%. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
At this point.
Congrats to you, man.
It's something to do. No, it's too expensive in South Florida. It's more expensive to live here than it is to live in New York City. That's a fact now.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been real. Great conversation today. Thank you, Rudy, for bringing this timely topic today.
Janessa.
Thank you, Janessa, for bringing the timely topic today, and Rudy for being so excited and mandating that we do it together.
As my father would say, it's been real and it's been fun, but it ain't been real fun.
So, until next time.
Say we are the worst ones.
We are the worst ones.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.